Good morning, everyone. As Lee said, I'm Dave Greaves, and I'm a surveyor with the Department of Transport and Main Roads here in Queensland. 12D and GIS at TMR is a journey that did start quite some time ago, when Tony first asked us to say, can we get the DCDB into 12D in a nice, quick, efficient manner, and also view all our imagery throughout the state. Just quickly, across government, there are a number of key priorities that are shown on the slide here. At TMR, we focus on the construction part of the plan. If you want any more information, come see me after the session or go to the Queensland Government website. Now, onto the presentation. Late last year, we became aware of a number of macro calls within 12D for use with the GIS data. These calls were of particular interest to us for getting information directly into 12D in a nice, simple user interface. Previously, we had brought GIS data in. However, due to the way our data is structured, it wasn't a very simple experience. You had to bring it in, transform it to get it into the way you wanted it. Also, at around the same time, all of the Queensland Government imagery became available through a web mapping service, and this was very attractive to us instead of actually having to look at individual ECW tiles if you wanted to load an image. Today, I will cover the TMR GIS User Menu, the DCDB Import from Oracle, the WMS Imagery, and also some of the future directions we see we can use the GIS in 12D for. For those of you who have used the TMR customization will know we have a very extensive menu structure. Our surveyors in particular are very focused when they process on stepping through the menu in the customization, and we thought that by adding the GIS menu into our customization, it would actually expose some of the other features to them. It brings together many of the GIS functions already available in 12D, so you can see we've got the map info, read and write located there, and also it's to give us a place to place any macros we develop in the future. It is quite surprising, with regards to the map info, read and writer, the number of people that actually don't know 12D can do that. Instead, they're trying to export it out of map info to MOS and then reading it into 12D. You'll see at the bottom of the menu, we have the new Import DCDB from Oracle. For those of you not from Queensland, the Digital Cadastral Database, or DCDB, contains all the property boundaries for the state and the relating information about the land parcels. It generally forms part of our standard survey deliverable. The idea behind the Import DCDB panel was to make the import as simple as possible for our guys out there and save them time so they didn't have to switch multiple packages. Previously to this, we had to work out where we were in map info, identify the area, select it, export it out, convert it, and then read it into 12D. The other benefit of having the macro like this is it means there's a single point of truth for all our DCDB data, so the user gains the most current version of it. And they aren't using some out-of-date information that is sitting on their local server. All the user needs to do is select their survey boundary model, which generally defines the extent of our surveys within TMR, select the datum they're working on, and press process. The macro will then work out the extents, send it off to the Oracle server as a request, and then the information comes back and is automatically transformed onto their current datum. The resulting DCDB model is shown on the screen, using our standard line styles for the user. This is a far more efficient process than what we currently have to do, and it also ensures that the DCDB is the most current version, as I already said. We also have added some hatching effects for volumetric parcels and also for strata parcels to try and make them more visible, especially in the metropolitan region. The area on screen is actually Vulture Street, just to the south of here, where we've done a little bit of a survey. And I'd like to thank the guys from Brisbane City Council who actually created the macro that allows you to label the attributes from the strings into the centre of the parcel. Another, side benefit of this is when we import the DCDB, 12D automatically brings all that string information down and attaches it to the string. You can see just on screen how rich that information is. There's a lot of data there that will be of benefit to different users. The attributes we're particularly interested in are the update date and also the DNR extracted date, as that shows the actual age of the data you're working with. Due to the nature of the DCDB, it is actually always being revised, so you actually want to make sure you're using the most current information. Sometimes the survey may not actually move straight through to design, so the DCDB in that data set may be a little bit out of date, so people can actually see the age of it. As I mentioned earlier, we have gained access to a web mapping service for all our imagery across the state. As you can see on the screen, we have full coverage, and it is at varying resolutions. So here in the southeast corner and up the coast, we have some quite good imagery. Zooming in, you can see Brisbane and Moreton Bay, and then here into Brisbane, and you can start to see the DCDB information I'd imported earlier. And then zooming in again, you can see the Vulture Street Tunnel DCDB overlaid onto our imagery. This is a very easy to use process and it does work over Wi-Fi quite well. And being able to access in 12D will mean that users will no longer have to hunt around on the drive for the most current imagery. And a lot of people do tend to copy that information locally, which takes up hard drive space, or they copy it somewhere on their local server, and it just means we've got multiple copies of data sitting all over the place. Now I'll look a little bit into the future where we see we can actually make use of this GIS functionality in 12D. By using this functionality, we see an opportunity to make GIS data more accessible for the casual user. There is a large amount of information out there within TMR that people don't know how to find, or they simply don't know it exists. Another major problem, as I've mentioned, is data duplication. We only need to look at our network drive, and it's been mentioned through this conference with Synergy, and that there's a lot of duplication of files, and especially when you start talking about some larger data sets, it takes up a lot of space. I have mentioned it earlier, but single point of truth is very important for your data. There is nothing worse than if you do some work and then you find out at a later stage you've actually worked on data that is out of date, because a lot of the times it means you need to restart and completely go through the process again. We are also looking at, creating some functions within 12D that allow the users a little bit more of a experience like they do within Map Info. As you can see on the screen down the bottom right, we've actually got the WMS Imagery loaded with our entire road network for the state and also our regional boundaries. We're looking at developing a tool that will allow the users to actually quickly navigate to a section of our roadway, because we tend to work in distances along the road, and also perform some basic CAD functionality, so perhaps create like an extent map to give to someone as a plan to say, this is where we need you to do a survey. We're also looking at, using 12D to better manage our survey information. Currently, we have 2 records for survey data within the department. The first is our survey information system, shown at the bottom there, that gives us a unique file number for all our surveys and shows an approximate location of where the survey has been performed. This system offers extremely limited functionality and is over a decade old, so you can imagine it is a little bit out of date. Survey extents don't really represent the true extent of what's being done. It's either a sausage along the road at a predefined distance or a rectangular box. So sometimes you may only pick up the pavement, other times you may actually extend down side roads. You can't really tell from that where the survey has extended. The second system we have is a boundary we create in Map Info that shows exactly the survey extents. We create this using a macro from within 12D that actually attaches all our attributes from our metadata to the information, and then we export it out to Map Info as sort of a boundary with the same data associated with it. Unfortunately, these 2 systems don't actually communicate, and so this is not really an ideal situation, as it means we have 2 very similar data sets, but they aren't quite the same. thankfully, our aging SIS system is actually currently in the process of being replaced. It is getting a brand new interface, and then the important part of the update is the information is actually going to be stored on an Oracle server like the DCDB. The plan from the GIS guys at this stage is initially to allow us to update the geometry of the survey through our export macro that we currently have in 12D, though our plan, if they allow us, is to actually update the boundary directly from within 12D. So as part of our final output, we'll write the MR archive and 12DA file out, and then we'll actually push the final survey boundary straight to the server when you write those files out, so there'll be no delay in that. It has taken some time, but we are on our way to, I guess, achieving our initial goals, and there's a large amount of scope, I guess, with the GIS interface and, I guess, 12D field as well, perhaps for asset management and that for, I guess, non-typical 12D users to make some benefits, I guess, with the attributing. And that's it for me. Thank you.